So many feelings about this, Adam. Let me put them in order. So 100% agree. Responding to reviews is frustrating, emotional, time consuming, exhausting, and utterly, utterly necessary. Guests expect it now. They expect a response. If they don't get one, they're not mad, but you can really take a guest experience above and beyond by responding, especially if they don't think they're going to get one.
Welcome to Captive Conversations, brought to you by Captive Wi-Fi. I'm your host, Adam Foreman. This podcast brings you the best stories from suppliers, marketers, and operators from our beloved hospitality sector. Now, let's get on with the show. Hello, everyone. Episode 56, and I have the pleasure of having Kelsey from Marqii. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
It's I think it's the third Riverside I've done online. We did a live, which was really cool. And then I did one with Paul Molinari, who's a beast. It was a really good conversation. And we met a little while ago. Was it in the group, the digital hospitality we met, or was it outside?
I think it was in the digital hospitality group.
Yeah. Right,
We met in person, in real life.
Yes, and then we met in IRL, as my kids would say.
IRL.
So yes, we did, and you've come over a few times, and you commute at the moment, right, from the US to Amsterdam, which is crazy. But I get to see you halfway through, so I don't mind. I'm very happy with that. So
I'm not mad at coming to London to visit you. This is great. Good for everyone.
And then we met in King's Cross with Scott and Richard, which was also really cool. So you also know them, which is nice. And we're going to learn a bit more about you today. And I'm going to start with the questions. So the first question's from the last guest, and that was Laura, who is the Chief Marketing Officer of Fulham Shore, which is over here, Franco Manca and The Real Greek, two really cool brands. And she said, can you explain your job to a 5-year-old? She said to my 5-year-old girl, but I just changed it to a 5-year-old.
Yeah, I can. My job's very easy to explain. Marqui's job slightly less. I might do both. But I help restaurants learn more about my company so that we can work with the restaurants to help them make great experiences for their guests. That's my job.
I like that. And what's Marqui's job?
So when you're getting ready to go out to eat with your parents and you want to make sure that there's something you're going to like chicken nuggets or mac and cheese or something like that, and you look it up ahead of time. And then you get there and they don't have that thing and it's really sad. We make sure that doesn't happen. So we make sure the menus are all right so that when you look it up and make sure there's going to be something you like, that it is actually there. And then when you're done and you've had a great time and you tell the restaurant you had a great time, we make it easier for them to respond to you so that you know that they care about you having a fabulous time and want you to come back.
I like that. It's really important, actually. I remember a couple of years ago, it was Valentine's Day, and we booked our favorite Thai restaurant, and I went online, I booked it, and then we turned up and it actually had closed. They closed that day. Yeah. And so we were like, where do we go now? Because online it was available and we booked online. They didn't even turn the online thingy off either. But, if they had a better platform with better information that they weren't open on that day, then I would have been all right. So we went to some very old, the old style restaurants with the cloches and the silver trays. I think we must have been probably the youngest people in there by 40 years.
What a memorable experience.
Well, to be fair, my wife had fish, which was very nice because it was like fresh. And I went for steak, which was probably the worst thing to do in a very old style, closhy style restaurant with everything was probably burnt to the crisp. Because it was a very comical experience I'll never forget. So if they had Marqii, it would be all right. And you have some clients over here, which is really good.
We do,
which is nice. And Scott's using you for his new place, which is in St. Christopher's Place, which is just over there. So we're quite excited to see that being used, which is really good. Okay, so next question is one thing, and I can't type, but one thing you would like to change in your life.
This is a weird answer because everything that I've wanted to change in my life that's in my control, I have an amazing partner. We try to figure out how to change those things. There's nothing that's within my control that I want to change that we're not working on. So I have to pick something that isn't possible or is without my control. Adam, I would really like to talk to someone about teleportation. I spend so much time on an airplane and I would love to just be able to zing wherever I need to go and see the people I love without sitting on an airplane for 9 hours. So if we could change that, that'd be great.
Have you seen the really cool sort of transportation thing that the people are doing, like the celebrities are doing? It's like a hologram. You walk into this camera, and then in a white box, you just appear, and it looks like you're actually there. Like it looks like you're there. So I saw it with a I think America's Got Talent, they were testing it. It was really funny. Not for on stage, but behind. So you can sort of, wherever you are, you just walk in and all of a sudden you just appear, but you're in a box, obviously. So it's like a Barbie box. But that's, partially there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was in Philly recently, and there's a portal in downtown Philadelphia. You can see into other cities, and one of them's Dublin, and they go all over the world. And you're just like waving at people in real time. It was really cool.
WeWork used to do that in all different countries. So every
Smart.
WeWork used to have before, I don't know if there's that many WeWorks now, but they used to have a camera in each of the areas. So when it was drink time, because obviously they used to do free drinks after like 5 or 4, I would purposely have a meeting at 3:30 in a WeWork so that all of a sudden the on-tap drinks would be available. But I remember there being a big screen. So you'd walk in and you're working late, and then America would wake up and they'd all be having their coffee. But obviously you couldn't wave at them, but the
Yeah.
portal's very clever.
Yeah, I like
There's
it.
some very interesting things happening with people trying to do naughty stuff with the portals.
Oh,
Yeah, that was in the press
that would
too.
not have occurred to me.
But yeah, I think they're very clever, especially
Yeah.
when the interaction piece, which is cool. Okay, standard questions. Best hospitality experience.
All right. How long of a story can I tell?
You can go for a minute or two. It's fine.
This was in Italy. My husband and I were in Bologna. We were looking for a great place to have a glass of wine. We found this little enoteca. They had it sort of like an aperitivo hour, the Italian version of happy hour. And we sat out and it was kind of loud, and we're like, let's go inside. We don't want to sit by the traffic noise. And the owner was also the bartender, and he got real nervous because he wasn't confident in his English. And we're like, you're doing great. Our Italian is shit. Please, and so he just started having martinis because it made him more comfortable speaking English. And then it turned out this was this incredible, like, working class enoteca. And so all the regulars started coming in when they were getting off work. We spent 6 hours there, opening wine, making pizza, eating food, listening to US metal music very, very loudly. And the hospitality wasn't about the quality of, like, it was great food, but it was bar food. It was the experience and the welcome and this genuine investment in wanting to make sure that we felt welcome, whatever that meant. And we left friends with everyone, just shouting in a mix of English and Italian for 6 hours. And to me, that's what great hospitality is. It's not, is everything perfect? It's, do you feel welcome here? And will you leave talking about this experience tomorrow?
We had Angus and Christoph from StoreKit, which is like an online ordering platform, a couple of weeks ago. It came out, it just came out, and he was saying that he went to, I forget where it was now. Forget where it was, but the restaurant he went to is in a hotel, and there were 2 roles. One role was the person to make sure you're having the best time in the world, and the other person was basically looking after your table. So you'd have, and that hospitality goes, that's hospitality, right? That one person, which is probably what you had, that one person who just make you feel welcome, make you feel happy, and so on. But I love that story. That's awesome.
He was such a wonderful human, and it, like, huge American heavy metal fan. Once he found out my husband was a metalhead, it was over.
Well, that's where you won. That's where you won. So I should have. I've got a little bottle of Iron Maiden brew here in the other room. I should have brought it in and show you. Next time you're here, I'll give you a bottle. It's a little beer there. So it's off now, but I've still got it in the beer. But
That's okay.
I think your husband will love it. So yeah, it's sitting on the side. So but yeah, that's amazing. Okay. Dan, next question. Best hospitality tech other than yours, of course.
I will give a cop-out answer for this because I believe it fully. There is no one universal best hospitality technology. No restaurant is the same. No hospitality business is the same. Your focus, your guests, your needs, the holes you need filled, the expertise you have on your team, all of that means that you will have a different ideal piece of tech than the restaurant next door. I think that there are some who are doing really great things trying to customize an experience and building specifically for hospitality. And I think those technology companies are a step above the rest. In the US, a couple that come to mind are like Bicky or Pot Menu. I won't call out Marqii. Ovation is another great one.
It's okay.
But I think that the one magic universal piece of hospitality tech that everyone wants doesn't exist. There is no one platform that does everything and does it well. So it's about finding the best one for what your restaurant needs.
I think a really nice thing I like now than back in the day is that there is that tech stack, so you can pick and choose what works for you, what doesn't work for you. I spoke to another guy from the group. He's got an awesome bar. I don't remember what it's called now. It's gone. And he's like, this is the CRM I use. Have you heard of it? And I was like, never heard of it. And I checked, and it's open, so it has an API and everything else. So we just plugged into it, and he's like, great, which was really cool.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think the nice thing nowadays is that the good tech is allowing you to plug in, and you can choose what you want rather than having to have that old school POS
Yeah,
in the
that
box where
walled
it's stuck.
garden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's nice that flexibility is really nice to have. So I think there's loads out there, but I think the nice thing is that the platforms are now letting you plug into not practically whatever you want, but there's enough choice out there. Okay, let's go back in time. I like this one. I'm like where it started, where your route in the beginning, even early doors. Did you? I mean, obviously there's tech and there's hospitality, so and marketing, which is a bit of your background. Talking on the hospitality thing, did you work in hospo at all when you were younger?
Well, that was my first job when I turned 14, which is as early as you're allowed to work if you're not working for your parents in the US. I got a job as a host at Applebee's. Also, the Renaissance Fair in Minnesota was in my hometown. And so I also worked at the caramel apple dumpling booth at the Ren Fair when I was 14. Very, very first job was hospitality, and I really loved it. It was such a wonderful world and a wonderful community. And I went to college, and waiting tables was just always, a thing that I could do to help make some extra money and connect with people. I think it's a great way to feel connected to a community is to get a job bringing them food. And so then after college, supplemented my very meager 2008 income, recession income, with waiting tables. And then when I moved to the West Coast, just completely fell in love with the craft beer world and got deep, deep into that. So even as I was building out a marketing career and working in tech marketing in the Bay Area and tech PR, there was always that, God, I miss hospitality. I wish there was a way for me to do this full time and still see my husband, whom I like, and who worked a daytime job.
Mm.
And so when we moved then to Denver, Colorado, which is kind of the hub of craft beverage, craft beer in the US, we moved here partially so that I could work in marketing and events for craft beverage. Like, let's see if we can make
Awesome.
a go with it. And if I can make this my career on the hospitality operator side. And the answer was no. I never saw my husband. I had to choose. And again, I like him very much. So then the pandemic happened, and I happened to get connected with Fishbowl, which is a hospitality tech company. And in all of those years on the operator side, managing, bartending, running events, everything, it never occurred to me that there was more tech outside of a reservations platform and our POS or POS. I should use POS. We're on a British
No,
podcast.
I was talking to someone in America the other day, and I said POS, and they looked at me strangely, and I went, sorry, point of sale. So let's universal. I now have adopted the universal point of sale. So
POS, yeah.
POS.
And it was such an amazing eye opener for me. Oh, there's all of this technology that helps this world that I am completely in love with and want to spend my life in. And now I get to spend my life working in hospitality, but daytime hours.
And seeing your husband.
And seeing my husband. And then, of course, now we're splitting continents and I never see him anyway, but at least I sleep at night, not at 3 a.m.
So when you were at Fishbowl, was it early doors or was it when they were just ramping?
No. Fishbowl's a legacy platform in the US. So they've been around for over 20 years
No,
doing
sorry,
email
I meant
marketing.
when you were there. Which stage did you get to Fishbowl when you arrived? Were they already because in the beginnings, like I remember, Fishbowl is the people that created the birthday reminder. I mean, that's always in my mind of they were the origins of that.
This was in 2020, so recently, in the last 5 years. So it was their more recent. The Engage platform had been launched. They're moving into being more of a CRM, GRM tool and branching out of the social media management and the email marketing. But it was they do so many things. It was a great overview of hospitality tech for someone new to the industry to understand all these different ways that guest interactions feed back into gathering data, building loyalty, getting personalized experiences out of the in-person world.
What was it like? Because obviously you went from you were marketing previously, but with operator marketing, and then going into supplier marketing or tech marketing. What was that transition like? Like going, I can do all of this, and then you're like, was it more budget, more flexibility?
Oh, I don't know that there's really more budget. It's different budget. We were talking about this earlier. Instead of B2C, you're B2B2C.
Yeah.
And I think having the perspective of what that guest-focused experience is like helps us on the tech side, when we have that experience, speak to the restaurant operators who are so focused on their guests. If we, as the B2B2C company, lose track of who we're really building for, yes, we're building for restaurants, but we're really building for their guests. and their guest experience. Even things that happen on the back end that the guest doesn't directly interact with, we have to keep them front of mind and make sure that those experiences are smooth and positive, because that's what our restaurant partners need. And so coming from that world and understanding how guest focused great hospitality is, I think it's given me the ability to speak to that from the tech side and make those connections. Like, we're not just saving you time, we're helping you create this experience while investing less of your own time to do it.
I love that. And I guess also the messaging, it comes from a place that understands it. So you came from a place where you probably weren't even doing much marketing except for reservations, going into a platform that does it all. Into Fishbowl, and then where was it after Fishbowl? So pandemic, or are we
You
up
know
there?
what? Fishbowl during pandemic. This all happened during pandemic times where we were all trying to help restaurants stay alive
Survive.
in any way possible. And then I got an introduction to Marqii, and Fishbowl was in a really great place marketing wise. And I wanted to be at a company that was in earlier stages. You know, Fishbowl was established and kind of this legacy brand. And getting the opportunity to come in to Marqii very early stage, refine our brand, communicate who we are, and help the industry learn what Marqii is and what we do has been really exciting. So I started at Marqii in summer of 2021. It's been almost 4 years, which is wild.
That's wild.
And we've been able to grow from this little scrappy team going to the Pizza Expo and nobody knew what we did, to now we're at the restaurant show in Chicago and we have folks coming up. Oh, I've been meaning to talk to you. You're on my list. I need to talk to you about my reviews. It's been really, really gratifying, and I'm proud of everything that we've accomplished.
So the early doors, was it just listings? Were you just doing the listings originally? So the first iteration of Marqii, was that just managing your listings, getting it done, and sending it to the publishing network, like all the publishers? So I did that at my house.
The very first instance of Marqii was before I started. It was just our CEO, Avi, and it was just a plugin in your listings in partnership with one of our partners, Yext, that just did specials. It was this idea of it, like the Marqii chalkboard outside of a restaurant where you had your specials written. The motto was respect the special. One of our clients, very early clients that's still with us, Gregory's Coffee, came to Avi one day and said, specials are great, but you know what's really cool? Menus. We need to get our menus out onto our listings, and our full menu. We need this automated. So they were the ones. We've been kind of customer driven or restaurant driven from the beginning of, this is what we need. Can you build it? And so very early Marqii days, we were already doing the menu integrations, accurate menu data on Google, Yelp, on all of those listings. And then we added reviews in. We had reviews, but for very limited platforms back in 2021. And then 22 was when we started to build out the really specific 22, 23. What other review platforms do restaurants need? Which ones are restaurant specific that they don't have integrations with right now? And now we have not just Google, Yelp, Facebook, but also open table reviews where you can respond to those from within the platform. Uber Eats, Grubhub, Easy Cater, DoorDash. So getting as much of that review data and that guest feedback as possible into one place has been a huge game changer for our clients, being able to respond and engage and keep track of it all, because it's a lot.
So the network that you had, was it natural progression to just leverage those relationships and say, actually, can we do this as well? Because you were already publishing to loads of spaces, right?
Yeah, we have the publisher network where we push the hours and the menus and make sure everything's accurate. Yeah, we've been building some really amazing relationships. And I think in my limited experience with the international market, but also within the US industry, I think more and more companies are taking that mentality we talked about of, we don't need to wall this off and create exclusivity to have success. We will have more success. Our clients will have more success if we integrate with each other and learn how to work together in a way that doesn't take months to build out. And it's been really wonderful to see some of these very large legacy companies being like, yeah, let's go. Open table, like, absolutely, let's integrate, let's figure it out. Toast is amazing to work with. We've got like an incredibly robust integration with them from the menu side. It's been really cool to be able to help drive that forward.
Out there. So is there, I mean, finding a menu and getting the right menu generally is difficult. So is that something that's also being plugged into the system?
Yes. So we have that in Marqii. We call them menu item attributes, where you can include not just allergens and gluten and all of the different things, but also things like spiciness levels for certain dishes. You can put that in there. Different listings platforms that we put the menus on accept different things. So some don't take that data. We keep it all, we send it out, and it's taken by whoever takes it. Google has done a really great job in the last year. They've started focusing, they've got this really small subset that's just for independent restaurants. And they're building things out in Google Business Profile that are made for small restaurants that are using Google to reach more guests. And so they've built out things like these more the menu item attributes and more detailed menu features, different ways to post events, really thinking about what restaurants need from their Google business listings. And it's been great to work hand in hand with them. When they build it out, we put it in Marqii to make sure that we can connect to everything that Google's building.
Yeah. I mean, also it allows us, the smaller groups, to be able to do it rather than the big corporates sending it out and off you go.
Exactly.
Okay, so great. So now we've got the menu explosion. And so anyone on Marqii, anyone who has Marqii can go to any of the publishers and actually see real information rather than something that was uploaded 6 months ago that wasn't correct. One of the guys we had on last week was like, I just want a bread and butter pudding. That's what I want. So he can find his bread and butter pudding in the right place.
Absolutely.
And then, so are they pulling, so are you syncing data? So what's the single point of truth? Is it Marqii or is it the POS? Where does that sit?
It depends on what the restaurant wants to do. We do not push to the POS.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want Marqii to be the single source of truth for website, all of the listings, everything that we connect to, you can put it directly into Marqii. Or if you want your POS to be a single, your single source of truth, it just needs to be one with an open API that we can connect to. And so Toast is a great example. I think we have a percentage, maybe like 20% of our clients have a Toast integration directly, might be more, where we pull in real time menu changes and hours changes. So this is huge. I live in a place that has wild weather, both in the summer and in the winter. You can get a blizzard rolling in Denver, and for everyone's safety, you have to shut the restaurant down within the next 30 minutes and send everyone home, or they're not making it home and they're sleeping in the restaurant. So with Marqii, if you have this integration, you just change your hours in Toast. You mark yourself as closed, and it updates in real time across Google and all the places. There's nothing worse than being in a blizzard and trying to go visit a restaurant to get dinner, and then you find out they're closed, even though
trying to find your way with the takeaway in a truck, right? And
yeah, exactly.
Closed. That's really interesting, actually. I think that having that update piece is mental. So my brain's going a little bit. So question, does it even granularly take a look at the, I don't know, silly question. The silly question is would it look at the stock? And if the stock's out, if it's out of stock, would it go off the menu if it comes off of the menu on the POS?
If you have 86 a menu item in the POS and you have Toast on the Marqii integration, then yes, in real time, it'll detect that change and take it off. I don't know about stock. If you don't if you have something within your inventory connected to POS, then yes. If not, I don't know.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Even if lunch service went really well, all your steaks are sold out. You're like, I'm going to take it. I'm going to 86 it off the menu. The integration pools, and so I think the other thing that's really interesting to talk about is, and we talk about it loads with marketers here, is resource. It's super. No one's got time. Everyone's really busy. And I spoke to a client the other day that has one staff member. Oh, there you go. Look at my little thumbs up. One staff member who is paid a lot of money just to do customer feedback. That's their single job for 30 venues. All they do every day is go through. They don't even have a single source. That is literally all the profile of their job. And we spoke to him and we're like, there's some software for this. You could probably automate some of this as well. And then they can focus on the customer rather than focusing on fixing. Do you know what I mean? So I was with a client the other day and we do basic feedback, right? It's just connect to the Wi-Fi, send an email. How was your experience? And I said to her, you've not responded to any of your feedback. We plug into third-party feedback platforms as well. But they were just using ours. And she looked at me and she said, Adam, do you know how busy I am? I'm like, she's got 5 nice sized food halls. And she goes, can you just automatically reply to them and just do it, just build it? And so we built very simple, but nothing smart, very simple. And it's true. She's literally their team there's no resource. So if you can automate things with pulling out the data as well. And I think you guys are now automating feedback responses too, right?
So many feelings about this, Adam. Let me put them in order. So 100% agree. Responding to reviews is frustrating, emotional, time-consuming, exhausting, and utterly, utterly necessary. Guests expect it now. They expect a response. If they don't get one, they're not mad, but you can really take a guest experience above and beyond by responding, especially if they don't think they're going to get one. A lot of people are concerned about technology or AI taking people's jobs. And I think we're at this point where no, everybody's so overloaded. It gives you more capacity as a single person, and it frees up your brain and your time so you can be even better at your job. You can have your energy focused on creating those little moments of unreasonable, above and beyond hospitality instead of, thank you so much for the 5-star review. We're glad you had a great time. We don't need to be doing that manually. The second part of this is, so we launched last year suggested review response, which is an AI powered review responder. We've trained it specifically for hospitality. You can set tone for positive, neutral, and negative reviews. You can create special instructions specifically for 1 and 2-star reviews. That is like, respond with a request to email us at this email address so we can take it offline and take care of you. You can have a sign-off signature. It's really, really, really good. And it still needs human eyes.
Yeah.
AI is not ready to be left alone. It is a 5-year-old child. And you can trust it to do some things, but you can't leave it alone for more than 5 minutes or it will go do something unhinged.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that hallucination piece is interesting. We there was an article that came out here. I'm going to just tear off very quickly. You're like, there's an article that came out, and my nephew works for Sky News, and he was helping build it. So there's a podcast. He does podcasts every week for Sky News about the news, and he uploads the transcripts to ChatGPT just to ingest it, and he uses it to ask questions and so on. The morning he woke up in the morning, he got his coffee, he wrote in to ChatGPT for that specific conversation he has, and said, "Did I upload the? Can you let me know the latest podcast that we did?" And it told him, and he's like, "That's very strange." But he goes, "When was this podcast?" And they said, "Yesterday." So he's like, "Weird. I didn't do a podcast yesterday." And he's been doing it for like about 2 months, like uploading everything. And he said, "Can you give me the transcript?" And it literally gave him a transcript of a fake podcast with some really good content he'd never said and never didn't exist. And he wrote an article about it. It was so interesting. So my nephew emailed me and he's like, "Have you seen this?" And I said, "It's not uncommon, but that's going to take it to the next level." So another hallucination of AI. Super interesting, right? It wrote a whole podcast.
It's wild.
It's wild.
We cannot leave it alone. It's a great, great tool. It still needs human oversight. So the way that we handle it is we put in the prompts. You put in the prompts for your brand. It's in your brand voice. It's very good at that. It will translate a response to you, so you can respond in whatever language the review is left in, which is great. But you still have to hit send. A human still has to say, yes, submit this to Yelp or to Google. Send it. It makes such a wildly huge impact. And we work with, it's a company called Romulus. They're the largest IHOP franchisee in the US.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't responding to any of their reviews.
Nothing.
And we started working with them, and for a year responded to every single review, all of them. We escalated the ones that needed to be escalated. And before responding, they had 6 locations that had 4 stars or up on Google. And that impacts your search. If somebody searches best pancakes near me, Google won't show anything that's under 4 stars if you put best in your search. So this is crucial. After a year, they went from 6 locations at 4 stars to 13, so more than doubled. And they measured the revenue, and those 13 locations were doing 1.5% more in revenue than all of their other locations that had less than 4 stars. So there's a correlation between bringing in new guests, placing higher in search, having better guest experiences, more return guests. It will impact revenue over time. And if you can use the tools that you have, whether it's Marqii, whether it's something else, to simplify a process, we know that it takes around a minute to respond to a review. If you use an AI prompt to do it, it takes around 20 seconds. It makes a difference when you're responding to hundreds and hundreds a week.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't know actually that Google doesn't necessarily show you anything 4 stars and under. That's really interesting.
If you put best in the search.
Yeah. I find that really interesting. That's really interesting. That's a really interesting thought process. Wow. That's going to cut a lot of people out who just don't touch it at all, right? They're never found. And then they're never found, really. Well, and if someone's touching best, obviously.
Responding to reviews, we see an average of between a 15 and 30% increase in the star ratings when you respond.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know if it's a human psychology thing where they know someone's watching, so they're more likely to be nice, or if it's just like, oh, this business is amazing and people edit their reviews. We see some of that, but there's definitely a correlation between responding and increasing a star rating.
So do you also send feedback, or is it mainly just maintaining?
What do you mean?
As in, like, when are you triggering a feedback message to go out, or is it mainly just maintaining the feedbacks that are there, like the portal?
We don't do review generation yet, which is something that we have really great partners that do that. And so we're leaning into those partnerships. We don't need to build and compete, with our great partners in the space, but that is the next layer. And it used to be that you weren't allowed. Yelp would disable your Yelp profile if they found that you were asking for reviews anywhere on the internet. They've refined their
Really?
policies, so now it's just on Yelp that you're not allowed to ask for reviews. So you can do it on Google, you can do it on other platforms, and your Yelp profile will be fine.
Do you find, because I've been over the last 6-7 months of people speaking to me in the US, do you find that more people are shifting to Google rather than Yelp? Because a lot of people I've spoken to are like, Yelp used to be really good and not so sure anymore. They are, which is nice to say. We obviously, Google's crazy over here for everything. Have you seen a shift on that side at all?
We definitely see a shift in the volume of reviews that come from the different platforms. So consumer behavior, guest behavior, you've got the real like diehard restaurant followers that live in Yelp. They will do their searches there, and leave their reviews there. But the volume of reviews that we see coming is much more in Google than it is in Yelp. I think Yelp is still a player. The biggest thing that we talk about is when it comes to search performance and placing higher, that prominence is really key. So you can't ignore anything. We want everything to be accurate and responded to everywhere because the search engines care about it. And now more people are using ChatGPT and other LLMs to search. They're crawling the whole internet. So make sure that everything's accurate because the GPT will find it.
Yeah. To be fair, listen, I remember seeing articles ages ago about Google never putting AI or Gemini into search. They were terrified of the loss of ad spend, and now it's there, right? So it's the Google ads are still underneath, but you still have the Gemini responding, which I find really interesting. So you're right. I think more information is going to be fed through. I wonder what will happen with data and as things change when you do does more with Google and search, and you type in best. I wonder how that's going to change, because what will it look for? How will it find it? Are you going to have to publish additional listings and other blogs and other places to get? It's this crazy, isn't it? Thinking about what's there.
OpenAI that runs ChatGPT, they have a listing now. You can put your
Really?
business information into OpenAI.
I didn't know that.
We are currently building that connection for Marqii, so you'll be able to create and update your OpenAI profile via Marqii.
Ooh, and then what? Menu stuff as well, or not? Just mainly business listings?
They're not including menus yet. It's like basic address, contact information, preferred link. You can put in an online ordering link or your website or whatever, and hours. That's
I love that.
the basics. Yeah.
I think they should all do that. It's very interesting. Quick question for you in searching for the younger generation. So my kids will be where to go for lunch, dinner. They'll go on TikTok, and or speak to their friends on Snapchat. Are you telling your customers that social is a whole different ballgame, right? It's a big piece and everyone's terrified of it. But the younger generation are using it to search. The old generation are using Google still. Do you see there's going to be a shift as time changes? They're going to still use TikTok to search, right? And find it. What's your thoughts on that side of, like, for businesses and listings, and it takes it to a different level, no?
I think that guest feedback and guest engagement happens in every single platform you can think of. It happens in email, in SMS messages, in direct outreach from the restaurant, on social media, on Reddit, where you may or may not even be looking, on TikTok, on Google, in traditional review platforms. It's bananas. And so as many of those things that you can get into one place as possible, the better. We will also be connecting to TikTok soon in the next couple of weeks for listings information. So
Sweet.
hours, correct data on
Awesome.
a TikTok profile.
Yeah.
But I think the most you can do, Marqii just launched social, and you can post to Google and Meta from Marqii now. The eventual future, I think, is, and I'm not speaking to what Marqii is building, but I think as we talk about guest engagement, we have to figure out how to get more of those guest feedback messages in one place so that you can really compare data across everything. your first party feedback and surveys, what people are saying on social media, pulling out keywords and sentiment analysis. It's not just in the traditional reviews, it's across all the places that your guests are talking about you on the internet. How can you analyze that data and find similarities and then engage with them?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's key.
100%. I think it's
Yeah.
really interesting because the younger generation will post on live on TikToks or a video of they've left and they had a bad experience. And how do you, last thing you want that is to go super viral, right? So it's really interesting. Another point I will say is that on the digital hospitality thing the other day, they were talking about Google, and I didn't know you could post, but now you can post videos right into your Google profile. And I think one thing I will say is that if people aren't doing it, they need to be doing it more because it is another feed. And I was on a restaurant the other day. I did a search, and this freaking video came up in the corner with it was awesome. And I was like, I didn't even know. It was just after the day after they were talking about it. And I think that's amazing. And that's something that no one's really doing, and it's new. And I love it. I love that you can have it catches your eye immediately. Do you know what I mean? As you do it. So I think if you guys are able to help automate that as well. I mean, you could upload a new menu item and then potentially attach a video to it that auto posts and stuff like that. It's just the opportunities are crazy. I think it's interesting because you guys hold a lot of data. You also hold when menus change. Is there something? Sorry, my brain. I don't know if you do, but when you see the menu change, can you track it? Can you see the sales track as well, or not? Or is that something that the restaurant?
We don't bring in any financial data from the POS. So we're not hosting guest transactions, spend, any of that within Marqii. We just get the menu is
Changes.
different. Yeah, just the changes. So we don't have that financial connection to how is this impacting guest spend or anything like that. But I think with a partner of ours like Romulus that is connecting that, it's really amazing to work with them and see the correlations between guest spend and some of the changes that they make.
Can you imagine that you're really granularly changing? I mean, the POS will make a note, point of sale will make a note when you've made a menu item change or 86 something, but because you guys are seeing everything happen in real time, it'd be really interesting to see that data change as well. If 50 venues all of a sudden change one menu item and then you see a sales drop or they don't even see it, it's a tiny percentage, and then they do a report, it'd be really interesting to see. Or if you guys marry up the data with another data platform, I guess it's endless. There's so much data that you're collecting already.
It's almost hard to choose where to focus because if you try to do everything, you won't do anything well, right? So trying to figure out where's our area of expertise?
Yeah,
Where
where
do
do you
we
sit?
focus and build versus partner and create this hospitality alliance of tech companies that will work together to get all of this data so that we don't all have to each build it? I think is really key.
Okay, so we're coming towards the end. This has been really interesting, and thank you.
It's gone by so fast, Adam.
I know. Well, we've got a good bit of banter. It's it's good banter. But the last piece of question is, last ones is what's the? I mean, we've talked about the future, right? Is there anything else? I mean, you've told me about TikTok. You told me other stuff that's happening. Is there anything else that's happening that's coming that's exciting that you can share?
Nothing else that I can share. I can share
But there is
about
exciting.
TikTok.
There is exciting stuff. There is exciting stuff coming. Okay.
There is exciting stuff. And I think as we just talk about the future of the industry in general, we see the trends, year over year. There's one thing, guest feedback was it in 2024. That was a huge focus in the US for hospitality brands. I think we went through a shift where the perception of reviews is changing and we're understanding the value of them more than them being an annoyance or a complaining guest. We're really seeing that impact, and I think the industry is understanding it. I'm curious what we're going to move into next. There's a lot of AI. There's a lot of, as we move into a recession, how can you make tweaks to make your restaurant more profitable? And I think getting this insight that we have, we didn't talk about any of the analytics that Marqii does, and we don't need to get into it, but having a platform that will give you those insights about what your guests want, what's driving good reviews, what's driving bad reviews, comparing that to your spend and your inventory and your revenue to make better decisions and drive that profitability, I think is going to end up being the necessary focus to get through these next this next bit of financial kerfuffles.
Waffles. No, I agree. I think it's over here is the same. Right? Everything's changed for everyone, so it's difficult. And we are always speaking to other brands about where they can try and cut costs, what they can do. But if they can see something benefiting them, then and go that route. I think the other nice thing. Not nice thing. The other thing about it is if you can save someone time, then they can, as we talked about earlier, it will save them on looking after their guests. The journey is right. If you can get them back on the third time, they're yours forever, right? So it's that third visit that you want to try and get them back to. Is if you can try and get them back to the third visit. The first visit's great. Second visit, if you can get them back to that one's wonderful. But the third one, they just become a raving fan after number 3. And I think that's one of the big things that when we speak to people and look at it. So I think tools like yours can definitely help with one, showing the right information out there. So many brands just don't have the information. It's crazy. It is crazy. And do you guys do a plugin on the websites as well, so you can sync it too? So the other things where I have to speak to a web designer, and then I have to go into the website and I have to ask them to update the menu.
We'll build the pages for you for all of your locations and connect the menus directly to the Marqii platform so that there's always correct hours, menus, contact information for every location page on the website. That's kind of a advanced premium. Do you really want to go above and beyond? We'll do that for you. We have a team to build it out. I think that as we talk about people maybe saving money, spending less money, going out to eat less, the restaurants that remain guest-centric are the ones that are going to win. Because when people don't have the abundance that they have, they want to pick a place where they feel welcome and at home and can guarantee that they're always going to have an amazing experience. So being able to focus on that guest experience and be guest-centric is going to be what I think sets restaurants apart.
Yeah, I agree. Amazing. Thank you. I'm going to throw in. Hold on. Can I do it from here? Have I got buttons? Hold on. I might have some buttons if I can find it. Where are we? There's the chat. There's the brand. There's the tech media. Hold on. Here we go.
We love a button.
Hold on. What's this one? Hold on. Is it doing it? No. Oh, that's boring. Let's do the cheers. This is better. There we go. This is like a Wimbledon cheers, right? There you go. That's your cheers. I knew there's a button somewhere. And we've also got the drum roll, which is great. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming online. I appreciate your time. This is really interesting because there aren't that many. I don't think. There are listings platforms here, the big ones, and there are a couple of small ones, but nothing really. No one really does what you do, because you're a bit of a unicorn when it comes to, because you're not just one piece. There's lots of modules, and so I will put a little link to people to have a look at I'm doing that like it down below. But thank you for coming, and thank you for booking the time in. I'm going to go to the final questions. The final questions for the pod are best restaurant.
Traveling Mercies in Denver is my favorite restaurant right now. Super limited menu, great cocktails, one of the best martinis in town, really good oysters somehow in the middle of the country. Beautiful hospitality, just a really great experience. So if you're in Denver, Traveling Mercies.
Traveling Mercies. Independent? Nice. Best burger.
My best burger is my most recent delicious burger, which was at a place in New York called Heidi's House by the side of the road. Also independent, great burger, English muffin buns, super thick patty. I'm not a smash burger girl. Also solid beer, good wine list. Like, you want just a burger and a beer in a nice, quiet place.
It won you. Good beer, good burger. You're done. Nice. Best hotel.
I have a complicated relationship with hotels, Adam. Let's say anything with a robe is for me. If you've got a robe in the closet, I'm happy.
You're done. Amazing. Okay, and then 2 questions for the next guest.
I want to know what your favorite food city is in the world. And what's the number one way that you learn about new restaurants?
Oh, I like that. That's nice. Okay, I'm going to give you another. Hold on, let's do another one of these. There we go. You get 4 seconds of cheers. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. This is going to come out in like a week after next. Pretty short.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, it's we've spoken loads, right? And we've talked about coming on the pod and so on. And I'm glad I got a little selection of your time, because I know you're a very busy person, especially with the commute and so on. So yeah, thank you so much for coming. It was super interesting. And I don't think enough people know about what you do and the company, to be fair. So it'll be good to share it. So thank you. And bye, everyone.
Thank you, Adam. Bye.